You can't be an imposter if you are sharing and documenting your own experience. If I tell you about the steps you need to do to get to 7 figures, it's not something that I can speak about because I haven't gotten there. But if I tell you about the steps you need to take to leave your 9 to 5 and become a full-time freelance writer, that is something that I can speak about from my own experience. So when I decided to become a freelance writer, I thought that each piece that I created had to be a masterpiece. I thought that every piece needed to follow certain guidelines, aspire to hit certain milestones, and generally be groundbreaking. And if you're a perfectionist, this might be the belief that you have. The problem is that this puts a lot of pressure on the writer. And in reality, it's impossible to have each piece be groundbreaking. It's impossible to have each piece go viral, whatever type of content you're creating, whether it's writing, videos, or anything else. However, I think there is a real value in being consistent. For one, the only way to get better at something, writing in this case, is to write more. And even if it sucks at the beginning, even if it takes a long time to get to that draft that is actually good enough to be published, the time it takes each incremental time after that will get less. So maybe the first time it will take you a whole day to write one article. The next day it will take you a few hours. That will take you a bit less, until eventually you can do it in a time that you would consider surprising compared to the first time. Also, each time that you create a content piece for the sake of creating the content piece, you're getting better at the soft skills as well. You're getting better at your grammar, vocabulary, flow, connecting ideas. So even if you're working at something and you feel you're not making progress, at the end of the day, you are making progress yourself. You're becoming better at what you do. Even if you're creating the same thing 10 times, each time you're creating a better version. And each time you yourself are getting better at the thing you do. Another thing that writers might not really think about is that each time they create and publish a piece, and this is the important part, the publishing piece, they get to know more about what their audience resonates with. You can have assumptions, you can have theories about what people want to learn about. However, until you go out there and test the ideas, you will never know. The more you publish, the more feedback loops you will have, the more feedback you get from your audience, and the more you learn what works and what doesn't when it comes to your audience. And there's no other way to get this feedback unless you publish. At the end of the day, you might also find that your niche is not the one you thought it would be. So you thought that you would write about freelance writing, but as you create a piece about self-development, you find that people resonate with that. And that is a clear sign that it might be time to pivot. You can't have this data, this information, unless you write and publish. Now, a common problem is that people might feel imposter syndrome. They might feel that they don't have the experience to actually publish content online because, after all, who are they? Why should people listen to you when you haven't done as much as the next person? And to that I have 2 points of thought or 2 suggestions. The first is that you can't be an imposter if you are sharing and documenting your own experience. If I tell you about the steps you need to do to get to 7 figures, it's not something that I can speak about because I haven't gotten there. But if I tell you about the steps you need to take to leave your 9 to 5 and become a full-time freelance writer, that is something that I can speak about from my own experience. And by sharing the mistakes, the lessons learned, everything that I went through, I can't be an imposter because I'm sharing my own experience. I'm not saying this is how you do it, I'm just saying this is how I did it. And the second point of feedback that I have about that is that you can also create your own niche when you write about the things you want to write about, when you create content about the things that you are passionate about, that you are interested in, that you're learning. Essentially, you're not following someone else's niche. You're not trying to become a different writer that is this idealistic version in your head. You are creating content based on what you want to create. And this means you can't have imposter syndrome because you're not trying to be someone else. You're sharing your own experiences. Another thing to help you overcome resistance is that you need to set realistic goals. For someone that is just starting, it might be impossible to launch multiple blog posts a day. It might be impossible to publish multiple Twitter threads a day. However, everyone can publish a couple of Twitter threads every single week. And it's in building that consistency that you will start to get results. At the beginning, it's more about the consistency, about setting goals and sticking to them, than actually publishing a lot of quantity. I think publishing lots and lots of stuff comes later. It's much more important to have goals that are realistic and that you stick to them, because you're also building the muscle that enables you to do the things you said you would do, irrespective of everything else. And that is a very important quality to have in your business. Also, it's good to remember that resistance is part of the growing process. When you feel resistance but do it anyway, I think that is when you grow the most. So let's now speak about habit, because the more you do something, the more of a habit it becomes. Some people say, how do I keep myself motivated? How do I write every day? And that is the question they ask themselves. The way I see it is that you don't rely on discipline or motivation or any other external factor, because these things might be there or might not be there another day. Instead, you become the person that does that. So if you want to become a full-time writer, you need to write full-time. If you want to, lose weight, you need to eat a certain way. There's no ifs and buts. That is the thing or the activities that that type of person does. If you're a writer, you write. It almost becomes a part of your identity. While it might be something you have to, in a way, force yourself to do at the beginning, the more you do it, the more a part of your identity it becomes. However, if you can see yourself as the person that does that thing because it's part of who the person is, I think that is the best level to aim for, to get to. And this is when you won't need to rely on motivation or discipline. It's just what you do. When you're able to do this, when you're able to write on a daily basis, many benefits happen. So first, there is personal growth and development. When you can speak your thoughts in writing, I think you can share any thoughts with the world in a clear, concise way. And if you want to influence anyone in today's world, you need to have clear thoughts that you share with others. At the same time, it's also a way to self-discover yourself, to grow, and to become better in anything you do. So the skills you gain from writing will translate in other areas of your life as well. As you write more, you also develop more ideas. In my experience, I also started consuming different ideas as well, to get inspiration, to see what others are thinking. And as I opened up my mind to what was out there, I also discovered additional things I wanted to learn. I also dived deep into other areas that before I wasn't interested in. So by writing, I also became a better person, because writing opened up the possibility for me to explore other people's content. And in a way, that becomes a whole repeated cycle. You write, you see what works, you see what other people are writing about, and you repeat that process. And over time, you become better at the whole process itself. You become better at the writing, at the consuming of ideas, at the structuring your ideas in a way that makes sense, and at publishing content that people want to consume. And this is why I think freelance writers should be writing daily, for them and for their clients, but especially for themselves, because it's much more than just about the writing. At the same time, remember, you're not writing a masterpiece. You're not writing a novel that has to be perfect. It's about sitting down, getting your thoughts in place, typing them out, and hitting publish. And I think there's a lot of power in that. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe so you don't miss future ones. And in the meantime, if you want to learn how to start your freelance business, check out the link in the description. I have a checklist that will help you do just that. I'll speak to you soon.